So, hello again. Good afternoon. Just to let you know, unless you are so blessed to speak both languages, you do need to download this app on your phone that will help you with the translation whenever they're speaking Spanish, or if you're a Spanish mother tongue and then you want to understand English, you can also switch it. So, you do need to download that for the session. So we will probably take another minute or two before, and we will begin. There's some people coming in still. Welcome. Welcome. So again, you do need to download the app, which is here, to get the translation either in English or in Spanish. So thank you. And yeah, so welcome everybody. Good afternoon. And for those joining us online, welcome to the session on Resilient Schools Innovations to Reach Adequate Wash Services for All. And when we think about the fact that just to be able to get a glass of water in a hot day, to go to a bathroom during your school break, or even just to have menstrual pads or a place to dispose of them in schools, are things that we are all working for. But increasingly, with climatic changes, with weather changes and severity, with uh, facilities now becoming more and more less robust and not able to provide these services, many kids are not able to have these basic rights. So this session today we'll talk a little bit about bringing us kind of setting the stage of what the situation is like, what are the challenges, but we will also come from it with some positive innovations. So with that, again, we have a very esteemed group of panel and individuals who will be joining us. We will have a presentation first by Isabel. And Isabel will begin to sort of set the stage for us, and I will introduce her fully. Then we will be followed then by three different presentations, all showing various types of social innovations around resilience and climate. Then we will have a panel. So with that first, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Belinda Abraham. I work with an organization called Viva Con Agua, a German-based organization working in Africa and Asia. So then we will, let me start with the agenda, and I'm going to move a little bit here so we can see. So starting with our agenda, as I said, we'll be setting the stage with Isabel Alvarez. She is a program officer with SIWI. Then we will be followed by three case studies, as I mentioned, one with Brazil with Chao Paulo Borges, and he is, actually he will be connecting with us from Amazonia. He's in a very rural part of Amazonia. We hope that the connection will stay well for us. To give us an idea of some of the social innovations that are happening there, we'll be followed by Ana Margarita, who will, from UNICEF Paraguay, who will be also sharing with us a very interesting innovation, and then followed by case study with Viridiana, who is with UNICEF Mexico. We'll be talking a little bit about MHH and innovations too. So we will be talking about challenges, but we will also be talking about solutions. Then we will have a panel discussion with Reese. He is a regional officer with UNICEF, and he will be joining us from Panama, I believe, as well as Jose, who will be joining us. He's a climate change expert, will be also joining us from Spain, and he's with SWA. But I'll do more formal introductions just before that. So with that, we have a full session, and we will also, after the presentations, we will give some time to ask questions, so you can also kind of reflect. And I'm glad we're a nice enough size group that we can actually do that today and have some exchanges, both with the panel experts, but amongst each other. Great. So with that, then we can go to the next slide. I would like to take a minute to introduce Isabel Alvarez. She is a program officer with the WASH department in SIWI. She is an environmental engineer and as well has worked in a number of settings, intergovernmental settings as well as NGOs. She does a lot of work around designing, delivering training and learning programs. She is currently focused on Latin America, Africa, and Asia. So with that, she's going to set the stage, the global stage, on the situation of WASH in schools and resilience. So Isabel, welcome.
Right. Well, good afternoon in Stockholm and buenos dias in Latin America. As my colleague mentioned, my name is Isabel Alvarez. I'll be delivering the first presentation to set the scene. And here we go. So while there are challenges to access resilient WASH services in the schools, I will delve into the complexities of this issue and shed light into the intricacies of the effects of climate change and WASH provision in schools. So we're going to start with some basic definitions, all right? So according to the Joint Monitoring Program, we have a service level scale. I'm going to focus today on the basic service level for water, sanitation, and hygiene in schools. So I will read up to you what are these definitions, since I'm going to provide some figures later on, all right? So for drinking water, so in schools, to have a basic service, drinking water must come from an improved source, and water needs to be available at the school at the time of the survey. In terms of sanitation, improved sanitation facilities in school have to be single-sex and usable, available, functional, and private. In terms of hygiene, hand-washing facilities need to have water and soap available at the school at the time of the survey. So with these basic definitions, I will start to introduce a little bit of the percentages of coverage that we see globally. So in terms of drinking water service levels, we see that from 2015 to 2021, there has been only a 1% increase in the coverage of basic services in schools. This means that at this rate, we will need to multiply our efforts by 14 in order to reach universal access in schools. The situation in Latin America is not better. We see that there are very few countries. So from 51, only 22 had estimates for basic water services. Critical countries such as Mexico, Brazil, Argentina, and Chile lacked national data on basic drinking water in schools. And this lack of information prevents accurate regional assessments. Now, in terms of sanitation, this is doing somewhat better in terms of basic sanitation. We see that there has been a 7% increase in the same time period. However, if we want to reach universal access, we will need to multiply our efforts by 3. Then we see in Latin America that even though some countries have reached 100% of these basic services, in the Caribbean, for example, we still see a 12% in coverage in Nicaragua. As you see, there are very few countries, key countries, that do not have any estimates in national coverage. And this actually really reduces the way that we can estimate these regional figures. So in terms of basic hygiene coverage, we have seen an increase from 51% to 58%. That was the figure in 2021. So this indicates a steady but insufficient rate of progress in hygiene. However, limited national data coverage and lack, including missing data from major countries, prevents these regional estimates for basic hygiene. And here you can see the very few countries that have provided estimates so far. So now we will delve into what is the climate change, what are the current and future trends in Latin America very briefly. So we've seen in Latin America many issues. So extreme weather and climate change impacts, including drought, flood, land and marine heat waves, glacier melt, and also forest fires in the Amazon. So this has affected Latin America in the Caribbean region, from the Amazon to the Andes, from the Pacific to the Atlantic Ocean waters, to the snowy depths of the Patagonia. Climate change is likely to aggravate the frequency and intensity of hazards impacting water and sanitation services by damaging infrastructure and contaminating water resources. So what are the effects of climate change in schools? We will dive into the different impacts and give you some examples. So for instance, while drought events and heat waves hinder water availability, especially at the end of the dry season, flooding and storms often disrupt wash services during the wet season. These climate-related events tend to have stronger impacts in the most vulnerable, such as children. In any case, the wash sector needs to be prepared, and the first step to do so is to understand how different hazards are impacting and will impact water and sanitation services. Hazards such as drought and water stress can hinder wash in schools, while also increasing the distance to fetch water and disrupting education and school attendance. Lack of proper sanitation facilities and menstrual hygiene management can lead to absenteeism during menstruation, which in turn can hamper girls' education and future prospects. The melting of snow, glaciers, and sea ice and rising sea levels could contaminate water reservoirs through saltwater intrusion. Increased precipitation, flooding, and extreme weather can provide a perfect setting for stagnating water and create the proliferation of vector-borne diseases. Healthcare systems could be strained by waterborne diseases, inflating medical costs, burdening struggling families and communities. Children with chronic waterborne illnesses face long-term health complications, impacting growth and quality of life. So we will delve now into a small practical example on how we can understand the climate risk in wash service provisions in school. So imagine a scenario where water supply in a school is discontinued during prolonged drought. This seems to happen in the school more and more frequently and with a higher intensity and duration every year. The system depends on the single water supply, and the storage capacity is insufficient, not only to bridge this 4 months drought with no supply, but even it would not have enough supply for a 3-day time span. When we delve more into the causes of the problem, we discover that the dimensions of the tanks were clearly wrongly dimensioned to be able to store enough water, and that the water consumption was much higher during the increasingly hot summer months. Following this threat, some of the key conclusions were that climate risk had not been considered when the water supply system of the school was designed. And the key reasons for that were that there was a lack of appropriate washing schools, national standards, and also the lack of capacity to integrate climate change impacts into consideration. So now, what are the opportunities that we see? In terms of the wash sector, we see that addressing the access gap in schools provides an opportunity to embrace climate resilience, to deliver sustainable results, and to contribute to the reduction of global greenhouse gas emissions. For schools, through environmental clubs in schools and the strengthening of WASH and climate educational curricula, we can build on children's roles as agents of change. To raise awareness at community level and beyond, schools offer the opportunity to target masses and promote behavioral change, which can transcend to the whole community. As for the Latin America region, there is the possibility to lead by example and to promote some of the already successful experiences in certain countries that can contribute to the rest of the region. I will now give the space to our speakers to delve more in depth into the possible solutions and opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oopsie, it's very loud. Thank you very much, Isabel, for really setting the stage. I think on one side, to see the numbers like 3-fold to 14-fold needing to accelerate, and then seeing on the other side the hazards and the impacts of those hazards. I love the way you sent us through this kind of problem tree analysis and really starting to understand at a school level what kind of steps to take to find actually opportunities. So with that, then I think it sends us nicely into the segue to actually see what are the opportunities. So again, if I say my Spanish is bad, my Portuguese is even worse. So I'm going to try to say as Chao Paulo Borges, or Borges, okay. He's a PhD and he's working under the Federal University of Minas Gerais. He has actually experience from over, I would say, a decade doing research with rural communities on sanitation in the Amazonia. And he has institute that he's working with is a very interesting institute. So they do not only research, but they also combine that with social development and social innovation. So he's going to take us through, and we hopefully can connect with him. Chao, are you all with us?
Yes, I am here.
Perfect. So the virtual floor is yours. Thank you.
All right. Virginia, can you put my presentation, please? All right. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to be here with you. I am Dr. João Paulo Borges Pedro, and I work at Mamirawa Institute in Brazil, Amazon. Today, I will talk about a sanitation system that we developed here is an elevated community septic tank, specifically designed for flooded areas. In Brazil, we still have 4 million people practicing open defecation, according to the UNICEF report. Most of these people are living in North Brazil, in Amazon. Next. The difficulties are related to flood-prone areas, the flood plains, that I show you in green and pink in this map, and is a huge area. Is like 1.6 times bigger than Sweden, just the flood-prone areas. And there are more than 1.5 million people living in this area without any sanitation technology. It's a huge problem like this, the huge areas. Next, please. And you can see, can you imagine a community that is flooded up to 5 months annually? They literally don't have ground to walk. So the conventional technologies not work in this kind of environment. It's necessary to think in innovations. It's necessary to think in technology that work in this kind of environment and work with the people. Next, please. So our big challenge here is to develop a technological solution for the treatment of fecal water in flood-prone area here in Amazon. And this is very important for us, analyze its acceptance by residents. Do the people like it? Do the people use it? We think people must love this technology for the success of some technology. Next. So to develop a technology for Amazon, we conduct a systematic review, combining sanitation terms with flooding terms in all over the world. And we did 37 combinations and analyzed more than 2,000 titles. Next. We constructed some pilot projects in 2 different communities in flood areas here in Amazon, and one of them in a school. These communities are formed by farmers and fishermen, and most of them still practicing open defecation. Next. So our review results showed the water solutions and dry solutions. How to choose it? How to choose the better for here? We need to listen to the people. So we conducted hundreds of interviews with farmers, and as a female farmer said to me, they want a tank to flush, something really well organized, something well done, really comfortable to flush. People here in Amazon, they want water solutions. They want toilets similar to what they see in the cities, similar to what they see in TV. So the dry solutions are definitively not for Amazon. But what is the innovation? What we did next, please. We developed this technology, as you can see, even in the high water season, in the flooded season, people now, for the first time, have a toilet inside home, in a secure place, in a privacy way, especially for women. They have a toilet inside home, even with the high water level. And now they don't need to take a boat inside the forest to evacuate. Next, please. The technology is as we call it semi-collective. That means up to 4 houses direct the effluents to the same system. It means a cost reduction in per capita terms. And the technology is resilient to extreme events. The difference, the annual amplitude of water, of river water here is up to 10 meters, the difference between the low water and the high water. It's a natural process. The thing is, with climate change, these extremes are getting more and more extremes. And this technology is resilient to this situation. And is the first solution developed especially for the Amazon flood-prone area. It's not something from Africa. It's not something from Cambodia or from Europe. It's something developed here in Amazon for here. Next. And is the first solution for schools in flood-prone areas in Amazon. As you can see in the center of the image, the school now have a treatment system, has a sanitation system, allowing children use toilets inside school and not more in the forest. And we can see here that the technological innovation conducts to comfort and well-being for the residents. Social participation is a very important process. People must work, must participate in the implementation process, must participate in the discussions, in the decisions. So to the appropriation occurs, it's necessary a social participation. People must be listened. Next. We have some ideas about the management of the technology. Ideally, we think is a shared responsibility, the government and the community. But according to the Brazilian law, the sanitation is a role of the state. The state must do the sanitation at cities and rural areas. So we really think that this must be a perennial service and not just projects. We don't need small projects or big projects because projects generally has an end, and we don't want an end. We need a perennial service that goes through the governments. And we can't, about the responsibility, we can't take this responsibility to the communities, to the people that live in Amazon flood-prone areas. This is a role of the state, and the state must take this service to the communities and to this environment. Next. So in my final considerations, the system is robust, is a very important sanitary barriers between the pathogens and the people. We see that people participation is a very, very important process to the success. And we recognize some limitations, and we are seeking to do some improvements in the technology, especially related to disinfection. Next. So, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pedro. This was really very informative. And I think a couple of things that came nicely for me together was, first, we saw the kind of problem tree analysis that Isabel shared with us, and then we see how it can actually come into action when you're working with the communities to sort of see what you like, you don't like, what you need, and then to come towards a solution. But I think he does underline and say, number one, participation is a process, but it should be a service, not a project. So really making sure that the municipality is on board to manage that. So I'm sure you might have some questions for him, so keep them together. We will, after the next presentation, we'll go into a question sessions as well. So I think next on the list is Ana Margarita Ramos. She is a she's part of the WASH Climate Emergency Team with UNICEF Paraguay. She is a specialist. Actually, I love her background because it's a bit of social development. She's worked in nutrition, education, and of course, WASH. She's very much committed to working with marginalized communities, children in indigenous communities, as well as other minority communities. And she's also worked actually in the national plan for the National Plan for Development and related to the indigenous populations. So with that, she is a senior program assistant with UNICEF Paraguay. Hola. Ana, are you with us?
Muy buenos días o buenas
Yeah.
tardes. Muchas
Okay.
gracias.
Gracias. The floor is yours.
Gracias. Por favor, si podemos avanzar con la presentación, yo voy a compartir con ustedes una experiencia que se desarrolló en el Gran Chaco americano entre Bolivia y Paraguay, implementado por UNICEF, a la que denominamos escuelas resilientes. Adelante. Eh, Esta experiencia se realizó en el Gran Chaco, está en el corazón de Sudamérica, es una planicie, una zona compartida por Brasil, Argentina, Paraguay y Bolivia. Nosotros trabajamos en la zona árida, eh, con una población indígena muy alta, una colonización reciente, aproximadamente los últimos 100 años, una zona de grandes desigualdades y ya con desafíos porque hay infraestructuras muy importantes que se están construyendo, como la ruta bioceánica, y al mismo tiempo desafíos por las necesidades y los niveles de desigualdad, pues estas comunidades tienen muy limitado acceso a servicios, acceso a la educación y agravado por el componente climático que es sumamente extremo. Adelante. ¿Por qué planteamos una escuela resiliente? Tres motivos. Primero, los problemas estructurales de estas comunidades y características específicas que no son resueltas por soluciones convencionales. La comprobación de que existe pérdida de los sistemas de agua y saneamiento por cuestiones climáticas, inundaciones súbitas o sequías muy prolongadas, y también un diagnóstico que hemos hecho de la situación de agua y saneamiento en escuelas que nos dio resultados, brechas importantes en términos del acceso de las escuelas a los servicios. Adelante. Adelante, por favor. ¿Y qué es una escuela resiliente? Esta es una construcción colectiva que fuimos compartiendo con las comunidades educativas y luego con las autoridades locales. Básicamente 5 elementos, ¿verdad? Por un lado, una comunidad educativa que pueda identificar y manejar estos riesgos, una infraestructura que esté adaptada al nuevo contexto climático, organizaciones fortalecidas desde sus identidades y sus idiomas propios, la posibilidad de acceso al aprendizaje de calidad y acceso a tecnología, y espacios de participación y protección, sobre todo en la infancia, la adolescencia y las mujeres. Adelante. Nosotros nos enfocamos mucho en el tema intercultural, en cómo abordar el tema intercultural, porque consideramos que es la clave de la sostenibilidad y la aceptación de los modelos que propongamos. Y pensamos que el punto de partida son las investigaciones aplicadas, ¿verdad? Pero estas investigaciones que parten de la conformación de equipos interculturales que pueden incorporar ya desde el vamos esta mirada intercultural. Lo que vemos a la derecha, estas fotos, son la secuencia de un proceso de investigación en donde identificamos, por ejemplo, tubérculos que conservan agua y han sido los mecanismos de respuesta en casos de extrema sequía en el territorio. Adelante. Otro elemento súper importante es la participación, una participación que va de adentro hacia afuera. Entendemos de adentro hacia afuera una organización y fortalecimiento desde la comunidad, en la escuela, y fortaleciendo sobre todo la participación de niños, adolescentes, jóvenes y mujeres que habitualmente no tienen un espacio preponderante en la comunidad y en los espacios de participación. Y luego, una vez que la comunidad está fuerte, puede interactuar con otros actores ya a nivel regional o municipal. Esta apuesta estuvo muy enfocada en la organización del pueblo guaraní y en los jóvenes del pueblo guaraní, que es una comunidad transnacional que habita tanto el lado paraguayo como el lado boliviano. Adelante. El tercer elemento para nosotros sumamente importante fue aprender haciendo, es decir, planteando desafíos concretos, generar opciones a partir del conocimiento local desarrollar prototipos, probar los prototipos, hacer una evaluación del funcionamiento de estas intervenciones, generar una cultura de mejora continua y finalmente, una vez comprobada la aceptación, sistematizar y generar estas carpetas técnicas que luego son presentadas a las instituciones para su réplica. Voy a presentarles algunos casos muy brevemente. Una situación concreta que fue un desafío fue el tema del agua para beber. Teníamos un alto porcentaje de 70% de las escuelas que consumían agua no tratada y una muy limitada acceso al agua. El agua generalmente se cosecha de la lluvia y se utilizó un modelo tradicional que es el cántaro, con una tecnología que las comunidades conocen, que es el uso del barro, y se le agregó los elementos ya de filtración, plata coloidal y otros elementos que nos permiten que el agua finalmente sea bebible, ¿verdad? Y elementos de diseño que permiten que esto sea utilizado en cada aula con comodidad y seguridad. Adelante. Otro ejemplo es el lavado de manos, el uso del idioma indígena para la difusión de los mensajes, la diversidad de modelos, considerando la limitada cantidad de agua disponible y se adaptaron, digamos, con diferentes materiales, diferentes modelos de poco uso de agua. Adelante. Otra intervención muy importante es la cosecha de agua de lluvia. Aquí se requirió, digamos, investigar fluviometría, disponibilidad de techos o superficies de colectoras, una gran diversidad de sistemas para la conservación del agua, cerámica, fibra de vidrio, etc. Y después una serie de complementos para una gestión más fácil del agua, por ejemplo, la separación de la suciedad, digamos, del techo de las primeras aguas para que no se contamine el reservorio y las bombas manuales. ¿Sí? Todos estos sistemas son de muy fácil mantenimiento, de hecho que parte del entrenamiento que se hace es para el mantenimiento de los sistemas. Adelante. Otra dificultad que encontramos, en la siguiente podemos ver, son sistemas de saneamiento. Encontramos sistemas de saneamiento muy deteriorados, de muy mala calidad, los cuales fuimos mejorando en diseño, en materiales y sistemas más fáciles de mantenimiento. Entonces, se desarrolló un modelo muy sencillo para áreas muy rurales y un sistema. En el siguiente podemos ver una que se adecua más a escuelas más urbanas, digamos, con más alumnos y ya con otro tipo de materiales, pero todos ellos con un bajo consumo de agua. Lo que vemos, el diseño que vemos abajo ya es la estandarización, digamos, que se presenta a las instituciones para que puedan ser luego replicados con fondos públicos. Adelante. Y por último, una intervención muy simple que resuelve el tema de las aguas grises o aguas negras. Son zonas en donde no hay posibilidad de establecer redes cloacales, en donde también, pero obviamente existe los riesgos de contaminación, entonces decidimos hacer esta pileta de filtración, decantación con una zona de jardín, digamos, orgánico. Adelante. El siguiente desafío es cómo pasar a escala y en este sentido trabajamos en diversas estrategias. Sin embargo, yo quiero solamente puntualizar en dos que me parece que son muy importantes. Una, el tema de que estas iniciativas basadas en procesos comunitarios y conocimiento local puedan ser estandarizados con carpetas técnicas, con el detalle técnico requerido, desarrollar también estimaciones de costos para poder hacer abogacía e incluir en presupuestos ya sean públicos a nivel local o nacional y también responsabilidad social empresarial. Lo que sí hemos descubierto es que es muy importante trabajar porque formen parte de los estándares nacionales, lo que permite a su vez que sean replicados en otros contextos similares. Y el otro elemento sumamente importante que consideramos es la generación de la demanda, la articulación con otros actores instancias de monitoreo social que permitan abogar constantemente, monitorear resultados, acompañar los procesos de construcción de estas políticas nuevas o inclusión de nuevos elementos en las políticas existentes. Una lección aprendida para nosotros es que no podemos trabajar solo el sector educación o solo el sector agua y saneamiento, que necesitamos tener una visión holística en la comunidad, pero también holística en el sentido de que todas las políticas y todos los sectores tienen que intervenir y necesitamos integrar a todos en un enfoque de desarrollo con una mirada desde la identidad propia de los pueblos. Y también que esto se extiende a otros países, no siempre los límites nacionales dicen todo, en el caso indígena hay pueblos transnacionales y son temas que debemos discutir a nivel regional con los países vecinos y las comunidades transfronterizas. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Ana. Muchas gracias. That was great. Again, we see, I would say almost a bit like a running theme in the sense of the technologies themselves, modifications of the existing technologies, but it's the process of which these technologies are identified, how different modifications are made to make them appropriate for the risks, and again, identifying those risks and hazards. And then, so thank you very, very much. So our last case study now comes from Viridiana Zamora. She is a civil engineer and also has a master's. Even civil engineering is probably hard enough. But then to add in financial optimization on top of that is pretty amazing. She is working with UNICEF Mexico and is currently the National WASH Officer there, where she's focused on WASH services in schools, humanitarian settings, addressing aspects of government, and of course, alliances. She also does a lot of alliances with private sector and also civil society. So, Viridiana Zamora, hola.
Hi. Hola,
Yes.
hola Belinda. Hi Belinda.
Hi. You are on the virtual stage, and the floor is all yours. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Belinda. Buen día, saludos desde México, buenas tardes en Estocolmo. Muchas gracias por el espacio en esta sesión. Yo les estaré hablando sobre el proceso de gestión menstrual digna que hemos estado llevando a cabo en escuelas de educación básica en México, focalizándome en aspectos de legislación, de recopilación de datos y de educación menstrual. La siguiente, por favor. Bueno, no sé si ya estamos viendo la presentación. Sí. Gracias. Me gustaría empezar presentándoles un poco cuál es el escenario actual sobre la cobertura de los servicios WASH en escuelas. Actualmente en México tenemos cerca de 224,000 escuelas de educación básica, esto es preescolar, primaria y secundaria, lo cual representa más de 24 millones de estudiantes. Y de acuerdo con datos del Programa Conjunto de Monitoreo al 2018, que es cuando tenemos un poquito más de datos desglosados sobre el nivel de los servicios, el 15% de las escuelas no contaban con acceso a agua para beber, el 6% carecían de sanitarios y el 17% no tenían acceso a instalaciones para el lavado de manos con agua y con jabón. En los últimos datos pues ya no nos muestran este desglose de información y al igual que en muchas otras regiones y países en el mundo, y ya como nos hablaba Isabel, pues esto sigue siendo un desafío, ¿no? El acceso a información que nos permita pues categorizar el acceso a los servicios y las posibles intervenciones que podríamos tener. Y adicional a esto, pues sigue existiendo grandes disparidades entre el acceso a servicios en las escuelas urbanas y rurales y pues la calidad, la continuidad y la asequibilidad de los servicios sigue también representando un reto para las escuelas. La siguiente, por favor. Considerando esto y entrando ya en materia de gestión y salud menstrual, ¿cómo es que los servicios de agua, saneamiento y higiene pueden apoyar una gestión menstrual digna? En primer lugar, sabemos que los conocimientos, actitudes y prácticas en torno a la menstruación cambian y dependen del contexto, de la cultura, de las normas sociales que existan en ciertos lugares específicos, en las escuelas, y por lo tanto entender esto y vincularlo con la provisión de los servicios WASH nos puede ayudar a tener un abordaje más efectivo sobre estos factores estructurales y de contexto. Por otra parte, la mejora de los servicios WASH se asocia o se ha asociado a través de algunos estudios y de evidencia que se ha generado en la reducción de impactos negativos sobre la salud, por ejemplo, en infecciones relacionadas con una pobre higiene menstrual o la falta de atención médica ante sintomatologías relacionadas con la menstruación, y en aspectos psicosociales, incluyendo el ausentismo escolar y la exclusión de niñas, mujeres y personas menstruantes de que participen o de que se involucren en actividades diarias, ya sea productivas o de recreación. Y finalmente, cada vez es más frecuente encontrar programas de WASH en escuelas que integran de forma efectiva la salud y la gestión menstrual, tanto en términos de infraestructura como de cambio de comportamiento, por lo que es necesario continuar fortaleciendo estos enfoques y recoger evidencia sobre la contribución de WASH en temas de salud menstrual. La siguiente, sí, ahí. No, estoy en la anterior, por favor. Considerando esto, en México se ha comenzado a construir una agenda tomando en cuenta pues todos estos aspectos de contribución de WASH en la salud menstrual, y hemos reconocido que la menstruación es un tema de derechos, ya que se relaciona directamente con la consecución de otros derechos humanos como el acceso al agua y al saneamiento, a la salud y la educación, y que por ello es necesario abordarla como precisamente con un enfoque de salud y considerando sus diversas dimensiones, la física, la psicosocial, la psicológica, la social, y esto es posible pues tomando en cuenta el acceso a aspectos de infraestructura, a productos de gestión menstrual, servicios de salud que sean empáticos y acorde a las necesidades específicas en los diferentes contextos en los que trabajamos, y garantizar la participación plena de niñas, mujeres y personas que menstruan. Y finalmente, la inclusión de todas estas acciones como parte de los programas y los presupuestos sectoriales correspondientes. Ahora sí, la siguiente, por favor. Como parte de esta agenda, se han llevado a cabo procesos legislativos importantes en México. El primero de ellos fue en el 2021, cuando se hicieron algunas reformas a la Ley General de Educación, específicamente al artículo 114, para incluir aspectos de educación menstrual como parte de la formación de las y los estudiantes, y garantizar el acceso gratuito a productos de gestión menstrual. Y además, en 2022 se eliminó el impuesto sobre el valor agregado a los productos de gestión menstrual, buscando justamente hacer frente a la pobreza menstrual y permitir que las poblaciones, principalmente aquellas más vulnerables, puedan tener un mejor acceso a estos productos. La siguiente, por favor. Aquí podemos ver de un poco más gráfico cuáles han sido estos avances legislativos. Vemos, por ejemplo, que 16 estados, el 50% de los estados en México, han tenido procesos legislativos en torno a menstruación, y 11 de ellos han incluido el tema de gratuidad. El resto han incluido alguno de los dos enfoques, y estamos justamente apoyando desde UNICEF el que cada vez más estados pues sean parte de esta agenda legislativa, y el IVA, que fue la eliminación del IVA en 2022, que se dio a nivel nacional. La siguiente, por favor. Claro que nos hemos encontrado con algunos retos en este camino legislativo. El primero es que pues estos procesos de legislación se tienen que iniciar a nivel subnacional. Cada estado tiene que iniciar sus propios procesos, y esto depende pues del interés particular que tengan congresos, diputados y diputadas para impulsar la agenda y para movilizar pues las reformas correspondientes para garantizar el acceso gratuito a productos y a educación menstrual. Además, la aprobación de estas reformas por sí misma no garantiza que la personalización de los proyectos, ya que se necesitan asignar presupuestos y programas específicos para garantizar estas acciones. Entonces, aquí podemos resaltar el caso de dos estados que han logrado esto, en el caso de Michoacán y Jalisco, los cuales ya cuentan con programas y presupuestos específicos, y han comenzado a abordar el tema de acceso gratuito y educación menstrual a través de la formación de sus docentes. Y finalmente, en los retos sigue existiendo pues mucha resistencia por parte de las comunidades escolares para abordar el tema de menstruación, lo cual pues sigue perpetuando el desconocimiento y el tabú en torno a la menstruación. La siguiente, por favor. Ahora me gustaría centrarme en qué acciones hemos desarrollado desde UNICEF para apoyar esta agenda. En primer lugar, en 2022 desarrollamos la primera encuesta nacional sobre gestión menstrual. Antes de este año no había ninguna información específica sobre menstruación en el país. Esto lo hicimos en conjunto con ECITY y la colectiva Menstruación Digna México. Nos enfocamos en entrevistar a mujeres, niñas y personas menstruantes entre los 12 y los 70 años con el objetivo de saber cómo gestionan y viven su menstruación y cuáles son los retos que enfrentan en las diferentes esferas en las que se desarrollan. Entonces nos encontramos, por ejemplo, que el 20% de las personas entrevistadas no cuentan con infraestructura de agua, saneamiento, higiene, ni en sus escuelas ni en sus lugares de trabajo para hacer una gestión digna de su menstruación. En términos de insumo, el 56% nos expresó que no tienen acceso gratuito de igual forma en su escuela o en su lugar de trabajo. El 68% tiene molestias asociadas a la menstruación, pero únicamente 4 de 100 personas acuden al médico para atender estas sintomatologías. Y en términos de economía, encontramos que el 55% ha tenido que sacrificar la compra de algún otro servicio o atención médica por comprar productos de gestión menstrual, principalmente toallas sanitarias, y el 85% desconocía que a partir de 2022 se había dejado de pagar el IVA sobre estos productos. La que sigue, por favor. En segundo lugar, nos enfocamos en el desarrollo de herramientas educativas. Desarrollamos unos manuales enfocados en educación en salud menstrual, los cuales están siendo revisados ahora mismo para fortalecer el enfoque de derechos y el enfoque de géneros. También tenemos una aplicación que se llama OKI, la cual está dirigida a niñas y mujeres de entre 12 y 19 años, y el objetivo es permitirles rastrear su periodo y acceder a información sobre menstruación de una forma lúdica y dinámica. Y en 2024 vamos a estar desarrollando un curso masivo en línea basado justamente en nuestros manuales sobre educación en salud menstrual. Y en tercer lugar, trabajamos mucho en aspectos de incidencia y asistencia técnica. En primer lugar, a través de foros, en donde presentamos en conjunto con nuestros aliados los resultados de esta encuesta que les comentaba, para seguir movilizando la agenda, apoyar la toma de decisiones y priorizar las inversiones en términos de WASH y de gestión menstrual en las escuelas. También fortalecemos las capacidades de autoridades educativas y tomadores de decisión a través de formaciones, a través de talleres para el uso y aplicación de nuestros manuales y de herramientas educativas disponibles. Y finalmente apoyamos autoridades subnacionales en sus procesos legislativos hacia la aprobación de la ley de menstruación digna. La última, por favor. Para finalizar mi presentación, me gustaría pues dejarlos con estas reflexiones finales. Por un lado, creemos que es importante continuar fortaleciendo los programas de WASH en las escuelas, considerando las diversas prácticas, saberes y contextos en torno a la menstruación, de tal forma que podamos abordarla de manera efectiva y con resultados a mediano y a largo plazo principalmente. Además, es importante generar evidencia sobre el impacto que estos servicios tienen en la salud menstrual, con miras a tener escalabilidad y a que las autoridades correspondientes y responsables sobre temas de WASH y gestión menstrual en las escuelas puedan adoptar estos enfoques. También es importante normalizar la conversación en torno a la menstruación y reconocer que es un tema de salud y de derechos humanos. No solo es un tema de higiene, no solo es un tema de infraestructura, sino es un tema de abrir la conversación, de saber que todas y todas pueden estar involucrados, y justamente esto me lleva a mi último punto: incluir a todas las personas. No solo las personas que menstruan, sino también las no menstruantes, a los docentes, autoridades de salud, a tomadores de decisión relacionados con el ámbito escolar en los diversos procesos de educación, participación y acceso, y de esta forma pues permitir que niñas, mujeres y personas puedan llevar a cabo una gestión digna de su menstruación. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Viridiana. I think, again, your presentation sends us a little bit on the importance of, again, continuing the upstream advocacy once problems are identified, and the need to also ensure that the resources are there, and then working, as you said, towards the end, a multi-sectoral approach to it. So thank you very, very much. Gracias. So we are taking a little bit of a break here to maybe ask some questions. Before we get into our more panel discussion where we bring in the panel experts. So does anybody here, and this is a nice, nice size of group, sort of want to share some reflections of what you've heard? Maybe, just before, we'll take probably online questions and then we'll move on to when you do, please introduce yourself, your name, the organization you work for, and the reflections or specific questions around the presentation. So we're going to start first online. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then we'll.
There is this online question is being in Spanish, but I'm translating it for Joao. In terms of the technology, Joao, the fact that you had to raise the toilet at home for getting the proper gravity, what do you say? Like to get the proper, slope.
Slope.
Okay, yes, please. Here's the person who answered the question, who asked the questions. You can do it in English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Yeah. Two questions in one.
Thanks. No, Joe, I think that basically in your presentation you highlighted two main issues. One was the technology, the other was the acceptance of the technology by the final users. Then the question is, by elevating the tank, I guess that you have also needed to elevate the toilets at the household and in the schools. So basically the issue is that if this pose a problem by the users, having to elevate the toilets in their households or in the schools. That's one question. The other one, and it's related to that, if I have not misunderstood, close to the septic tank, I think that you also have a treatment tank. So I understood that the technology also treats the wastewater before discharging it into the public water bodies. And yeah, the question again is it an issue by acceptance of this technology by communities if the treatment does not work? Well, I don't know if if you get the two questions or if they make sense. Over to you.
Yeah. Thank you for these questions. About the elevation of the house, it's not a problem because the houses are already quite high because of the water level. So in fact, the toilets, it's practically at the same level of the houses because the houses are already very high. Some of the houses are like 2, 3, 4 meters above the ground. And about the treated effluent, it's directed. The effluent for the treatment is directed to a sealed chamber below ground. In the flood period, the effluent goes to the same chamber, but is sealed. So there is no contact between people, between students and this treated water and this treated effluent. So we can consider it as secure because there is a important physical barrier.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a couple questions. There's 1 here, 2, and 3.
Hi, my name is Erin. I'm the executive director and founder of Drink Local, Drink Tap. We are based in Cleveland, Ohio in the US and in Uganda. We've been implementing WASH projects in Uganda since 2010, and I wanted to highlight something that Isabella said earlier about planning properly, especially with rainwater collection. So many times, I think all of us have seen who do work out in rural areas, well-intentioned organizations building projects that are quote, serving water to all of these people, but they're not planned properly for capacity. And I think that's really important. All of us who are actually doing the work and out there, that we are building these things properly so that people are actually served with the water they need, and it makes sense. And it's not just about rainwater, but it's about all types of wash projects. Just making sure that we are planning enough stalls in our latrines for the actual amount of kids at a school, the right rainwater storage, the right types of technology. We have all of these solutions. I think we just have to make sure that we're implementing them properly and understanding there's no cookie cutter approach to it. So thank you, Isabel, for bringing that point.
Thank you so much. My name is Faye Mutinda from Kenya. I'm a director of public health. My question goes to the second presenter on the level of acceptability of the elevated septic tank. Number two is about, because he said that the septic tank, the elevated septic tank is a communal one. Who pays for the waste management? Are there tariffs, or is the government taking care of that? Thank you.
Maybe we can take one more and then.
Yeah, thank you.
Hi.
My name is.
Okay. Oh, all right.
Okay, we take one more.
Sorry.
Ciao, and then no problem, and then we'll go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, my name is Mariam. So I'm a water and sanitation specialist at the World Bank, and I'm working in Benin. My question is for the second presentation also. He mentioned that this technology has been designed specifically for the Amazon context. There are many different places in the world, including in Africa, similar to what has been presented here. And I just wanted to have more information, what makes it specific to Amazon, and how can we adapt it to all the context. Thank you.
Great. So, Ciao, yeah, we can start with those questions, and I think if we can take a few more, and then we'll go on to the panel. You get.
All right.
Yeah,
All right. So who pays it, right? We are developing the technology. So we are an institute that developed the technology, and it was paid with a project money, but we don't think that is the way. We put this technology available. Now we really think the government must use this technology to the people. The government is the institution, is the institution that must implement it in the rural areas of Amazon, and not just projects or ONGs or something like that. The second question is, the technology, in fact, is not something really new, but is adapted. We conducted a review and adapted some ideas with sanitary engineering, and we adapted to this situation here in Amazon. The main adaptation is the raise of the system in a very high altitude. Sorry if I'm talking wrong, but it can be adapted to other places, of course, like in Pantanal or near to the sea. The sea level is something similar. So yes, it can be adapted, but it's important to consider the participation of people and to guarantee the security of the treated water, the treated effluent in a sealed chamber.
Thank you.
Yep.
Then I think we can. There's also a question online.
Yes, there is a question online from John Oldfield to Viridiana. Viridiana, thank you for your great presentation. Have you written a case study, an article, or your advocacy work on menstrual hygiene in Mexico at state and federal level? There are lots of lessons here. How can UNICEF do to share this with other countries? Thank you. Viridiana, we listen to you.
Sí, gracias. Sí, justamente uno de nuestros planes para 2024 es hacer un estudio de casos sobre los estados que ya han avanzado en este camino legislativo en la aprobación de la ley de menstruación digna, cuáles han sido sus procesos, cuáles han sido las alianzas que han hecho, porque muchas de estos casos que presentaba, por ejemplo, en el caso del estado de Michoacán y Jalisco, se conformaron grupos de trabajo con organizaciones de la sociedad civil, con colectivas especializadas en temas de menstruación, colectivas feministas, para abordar el tema de menstruación pues de una forma integral. Entonces sí, vamos a estar trabajando en 2024 en un estudio de caso para compilar estas experiencias y para invitar a los estados que no han avanzado en esta agenda a que lo hagan de una manera efectiva y pues ya teniendo como experiencia estos casos previos. Y claro que podemos compartir una vez que esté lista este estudio de caso con otros países para pues apoyarlos. Y además pues las herramientas educativas que comentaba en mi presentación están disponibles online también y creo que pueden ser también útiles, tal vez con algunas adaptaciones o contextualizaciones específicas para el uso en otros países.
Thank you again, gracias. So is there anybody else who would like a question? We can probably take one more or we move it. Yeah, please, welcome. And then we'll go into our panel discussion.
Hola, mi nombre es Nilsa Esquivel y trabajo para el Instituto de Medio Ambiente de Estocolmo. Y mi pregunta igual es, para Viridiana es más quizás una curiosidad, porque igual manejamos temas de WASH y de manejo de higiene menstrual. Y sabemos que en Latinoamérica igual, justo como la pregunta anterior, no hay muy poca información, entonces siempre estamos buscando como casos de estudio, cómo replicar. Y algo que igual estuvimos pensando era como esta parte de, bueno, primero celebrar que en México, yo soy de México, entonces estoy muy orgullosa de que hayan pasado ya muchas cosas en este tema, muchos avances. Pero igual pensar en la parte del manejo de los residuos de los productos menstruales, ¿no? Por ejemplo, sé que apenas en México hubo una campaña sobre productos menstruales, sobre todo toallas femeninas que se pueden ir por el excusado, entonces que en teoría son biodegradables, pero no sé si esos temas también se están manejando dentro de las escuelas y también la adaptación de los baños para ejercer la higiene menstrual de manera digna, ¿no? Como a veces de pronto nada más poner un lavabo dentro del baño funciona y hace que las niñas puedan o quieran ir y usar el baño de la escuela, ¿no? Porque si tienen alguna mancha de sangre en las manos o algo así, luego si van afuera y el lavabo, y los ven todos con el lavabo y esto, ¿no? Todavía hay muchos tabús alrededor del tema. Entonces, a mi pregunta para Viridiana era si están tomando en cuenta o tienen pensado involucrar estos temas también en las escuelas.
Sí, muchas gracias. Justamente como parte de las acciones que se toman con las escuelas es incentivar el uso de productos como la copa menstrual, no solamente toallas sanitarias, que sabemos que representan un residuo importante, también se están empezando a utilizar discos menstruales, ropa interior que absorbe el flujo menstrual. Sabemos que todavía hay un largo camino sobre el uso de estos productos porque todavía hay pues mucho desconocimiento, tal vez no hay mucha aceptabilidad sobre estos productos, principalmente en las comunidades más alejadas, rurales o con población indígena, pero los programas educativos sí están empezando a abordar la promoción sobre el uso de estos productos, pues con miras a justamente reducir la producción de residuos y el impacto ambiental pues consecuente. También en términos de la infraestructura, nosotros desde UNICEF sí apoyamos una agenda pues que vaya enfocada hacia garantizar que las instalaciones de agua, saneamiento y higiene tengan esta perspectiva de género, ¿no? Que no solo se trate como de medidas paliativas que sean tal vez atendiendo a necesidades emergentes, sino que sea algo de mediano y largo plazo, ¿no? Garantizar que en todo momento, desde la infraestructura hasta la educación, se incluya este enfoque de género y de esta forma, pues, que las niñas, mujeres y personas menstruantes dentro del ámbito escolar pues puedan hacer una gestión eficiente en todo momento de su menstruación.
Great. So thank you very much, Viridiana. So now we're going to get actually into the panel discussion with some climate experts who are here, as well as some school health experts. So I'm going to begin with, maybe we can put the slide on of our panelists who are joining us. Bella is here. So we're going to start with first introduce Dr. Bella Mons. She is a senior advisor for the Fit for Schools program. This is a technical assistance program for effective school health with GIZ. And she's been working since around 2011 with Southeast Asia, really supporting the governments to implement scale-up programs on school health. So Bella, please come and join me on stage. So, and we also have Jose. He's with Sanitation and Water for All. This is your water. He's providing strategic technical support to the government and non-governmental organizations in the area of climate resilience, water, and sanitation, and including program development and planning. So welcome, Jose. And then we have Reese Lopez Rayo. He is with UNICEF. I think he's based in Panama, if I'm correct. Yes, with the LAC office, Latin America and the Caribbeans. He is a climate change sustainable development advisor for UNICEF. He has advised countries both in Asia and in the Pacific, and now in Latin America and the Caribbeans, to access climate financing, and also to develop and implement climate change projects perhaps too, on a diverse number of topics and sectors. And he's currently leading the water, climate change, and DRR portfolio. So, hola, Reese. Jose, are you with us? You are, and we are
Hola,
good too.
here we are.
Yeah,
Sí, sí, sí.
welcome. Welcome. So I wanted to start maybe the question with you, Reese, and then we will also open it up for others to ask questions. But I was kind of taking from Isabel's presentation where she really tried to set the stage, basically showing on one side, the need for we need water and sanitation services, the inadequate services that there are, the effects on educational outcomes and so forth. And then we've also had a number of presentations where we've seen some innovations, approaches to try to address it. So from, climate resilience, resilient schools is a huge issue. What you're hearing, are we on track? Are these solutions matching these problems? What more needs to be done from your perspective?
Well, thank you, and good morning, good afternoon from Panama. And thanks for the question. And I'll start by saying that was presented on the service ladder. At least from the data that has been reported to the GMP, well, we are not on track. We have seen that some small increments in the past years, but to really have a long-term service provision, we need to really have, in the case of water coverage, 14 times the increase that we have in the past years. So yeah, I think this lack of data, at least on the GMP, tell us that, yeah, we are not on track. And listening to the presentation, I was thinking that it's not a coincidence that today we have heard about experiences in two of the largest ecosystems in the region. We have seen from the Amazonas experience and from El Gran Chaco. And this is not a coincidence because in the region is where we have the largest gaps in services. So this is where the rural communities, the extreme poor, indigenous communities, Afro-descendants live in the region. So that speaks volumes about where we need to focus, at least in UNICEF, that has been our approach. And listening to the presentations, I saw that we have, I saw with good eyes, different technologies being put forward that, as Joao mentioned, on this septic tank that is built on stilts. And as you saw in the picture, the schools and the communities are also built on stilts during that, really to prevent to get flooded during the rainy season in the Amazon. So for me, I saw part of a life cycle approach when I still have some questions about waste management and disposal, and I think that's one question that has been done to Joao, and then listening to the case in El Gran Chaco, I think a key element for us is how ancestral and traditional knowledge is included in the solutions for the communities to really accept and to be sustained in the long term. And Annie mentioned a point on different elements to take to scale up some of the interventions. And she mentioned to have technical profiles of these interventions, to really have a holistic vision. It's not only from the Ministry of Education or Ministry of Health or Ministry of Water. No, it's kind of like a whole sector approach if we were to sustain. An element that has really struck me on Viridiana's presentation related to the outcomes of education is the impact on MHH. When you have in Mexico, 43% girls missing school during menstrual times. So for me, it's really, really staggering to see Mexico, a high middle income country, facing this kind of issues now. And this is have knock-on effects, not only on education and health outcomes, but ultimately in economic opportunities and economic developments for the country itself. So it should be seen as a bigger element that we need to, and we should focus on. And I'll say that we have seen, technologies, we have seen capacity, how to include different communities, but I think still part of the missing element is the word of financing. And it's not only governments, it's utilities, it's the climate funds, it's the national development banks. I think we should move as a sector, and in the current climatic and with the impact of extreme weather events, we should link more heavily on all the budgets and all the funds that are associated and linked to the climate finance. So I will stop that and happy to keep the conversation. Over to you.
Great, thank you very much, Aris. Thank you very much for that reflection and bringing in the element, the aspects of climate financing, which we can speak more to. So, Jose, the next one I would like again to pose to you, going on Anna's presentation for Paraguay. We see schools, faced with so many different things. And we see impacts, she mentioned, even on food chain, nutrition. We see the floods, the fires, all of these destructions. And with so many problems, like at a school level, how do you see solutions? How can schools come and kind of address solutions? Can you give us some examples that would work, or some frameworks that could potentially be used? And I think this is kind of an area of focus of yours. So can you share sort of that reflection?
Muchas gracias, Belinda. Muchas gracias, colegas. Puntualizar que también, además de trabajar con SWA, también colaboro y soy afortunado de colaborar con el Instituto Internacional del Agua en Estocolmo, con CIVI, y de hecho, estamos trabajando en herramientas importantes que van a ser de gran uso. Me preguntas sobre cómo encontrar soluciones a nivel de la escuela, ¿verdad? Y aquí lo que me gustaría puntualizar primero es que en nuestro sector de agua, saneamiento y higiene, pues teníamos guías técnicas, tenemos metodologías y marcos lógicos sobre cómo abordar los impactos de cambio climático en nuestro sector. De hecho, también, UNICEF y la Asociación Mundial del Agua han trabajado desde hace años en guías técnicas que están siendo usadas ahora en muchos países. Y de hecho también, ahora que estamos hablando de financiación climática, poner sobre la mesa que el Fondo Verde del Clima reconoce estas guías metodológicas sobre cómo abordar cambio climático en WAS, en agua, saneamiento e higiene. Bien, si esto es cierto y en el sector tenemos metodologías, lo que no es menos cierto es que hay una gran demanda sobre cómo abordar cambio climático a nivel de escuela, ¿verdad? Y quizá es aquí donde las guías que tenemos hasta el momento pues quizás son insuficientes. Es por esto que estamos trabajando, bueno, UNICEF con la Asociación Mundial del Agua viene trabajando en unas guías técnicas sobre cómo implementar estas metodologías que tenemos de sector a nivel de escuelas. Y también lo que yo quería resaltar ahora con mi participación en este panel es algo que creo que es fundamental, que es que tengamos para solucionar, para encontrar soluciones en escuelas, Belinda, yo creo que lo que es básico es que tengamos una metodología sobre el análisis de riesgos climáticos en escuelas. Porque las metodologías que venimos aplicando ahora en el sector quizá son a un nivel más amplio, un nivel más alto, que están funcionando muy bien, pero quizá falla un poco su aplicación a nivel de escuela. ¿Por qué? Y volviendo a tu pregunta, ¿verdad? ¿Cómo identificar soluciones? Yo pienso que todo pasa sobre tener claro cuáles son los riesgos climáticos que una escuela está soportando. Para esto tenemos que tener muy claro cosas que se están discutiendo hoy, ¿verdad? En primer lugar, ¿cuáles son las amenazas climáticas a las que una escuela tiene que abordar? Evidentemente, hemos visto hoy, no es lo mismo una escasez de agua en sequías que vivir con inundaciones, o tenemos casos de escuelas que estén cerca del mar, vivir con la amenaza del incremento del nivel del mar. Necesitamos no solo conocer cuáles son las amenazas climáticas, sino necesitamos conocer cuáles son sus características. Necesitamos conocer cuál es la frecuencia con la que se producen estas amenazas. Necesitamos conocer la intensidad, la duración. Necesitamos conocer cómo se expanden a nivel geográfico, hasta qué punto abarcan a la escuela y cuánto más. Necesitamos conocer qué es lo que nos dicen las proyecciones climáticas sobre las características de estas amenazas. Este es el punto número uno. Punto número dos, necesitamos conocer cuál es la exposición de las escuelas y necesitamos conocer cuál es la exposición de los sistemas de agua, saneamiento e higiene y la exposición de las propias personas, de los niños, de las niñas, de los facultativos, de las personas que trabajan en operación y mantenimiento en las escuelas. Necesitamos saber cómo todos estos niveles están expuestos a cada una de las amenazas climáticas. Y tercero, muy importante, necesitamos también conocer cuál es la vulnerabilidad existente. Durante la presentación de hoy se nos ha recordado cómo hay escuelas que no tienen suficientes servicios de agua, de saneamiento e higiene. Todos estos son factores de vulnerabilidad y necesitamos conocerlos. La combinación de estos tres elementos, de las amenazas, de la exposición y de la vulnerabilidad, es lo que nos hace conocer el riesgo al cambio climático en las escuelas. Y es por ello que necesitamos determinar cuáles son estos factores para poder empezar a abordar las soluciones. Durante la sesión de hoy se nos recordaba y se hacía hincapié en que es necesario tener estudios de caso y aprender cómo replicar. Esto es muy importante, pero diría yo que antes de tener un catálogo, ¿verdad?, de soluciones, necesitamos conocer los riesgos a nivel local. Durante las presentaciones de hoy se ha hecho mucho hincapié en cómo las soluciones necesitan estar adaptadas a los niveles locales, necesitan estar consultadas con las comunidades a nivel local. Entonces no tenemos un silver bullet, no tenemos una bala mágica que podamos copiar y lo que sirvió en Perú nos va a funcionar en Ecuador, o lo que nos funcionó en Bolivia va a funcionar en México. Nos puede ayudar a entender las soluciones, pero no nos va a dar el resultado final. Necesitamos conocer a nivel de escuela y a nivel local los impactos de cambio climático. Back to you, Belinda.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just want to keep you also engaged in this. Does anybody have a question or a reflection to what you've heard both from Jose and as well from Reese so on one side, Reese has outlined it's not enough, the issue around climate financing. Jose has also gone to explain that we need to make things basically at school level so that schools can actually address both the risks, the threats, the vulnerability. Any reflections from anyone here on that? Any sort of thoughts? Or we're just continuing on? Yeah? Okay, we can continue. Good. All right, then. So then I will then bring it to you, Bella, as you are here with us, to talk a little bit. So we've talked a little bit about technical innovations and interventions, as well as we've seen some good examples from the Amazonia. But we know WASH in schools, management, the facilities are a challenge, even whether or not you're talking about climate resilience or not. From your perspective and kind of thinking about climate resilience technical solutions, how can we start to work with ministries of education or others to really work on a framework to maintain this? Because even that is a challenge itself, forget even climate. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thanks. Perhaps in general, briefly, thanks for these great examples and also for technology so that we can understand the Spanish. So it's also great that we have different continents and that we have a session and even question and answer in different languages. What I find very interesting in these examples was that there were solutions on the local level. And these solutions were very much focused on the situation at the local level and involved the people at the local level. And I think that's very, very crucial. I was not waiting for sophisticated solution coming from somewhere, but looking what is there, what is the knowledge which is there. And I think that's so crucial for WASH in schools in general, that any solutions which will be there need to be simple, because we have always to think the education sector is already totally overburdened with the tasks they have at hand on education and every new thing coming in for them, be it WASH, be it climate resilient, be it MHM, they will easily think, no, please don't come, we already have enough, we don't want to take that on board. So anything which comes need to be very simple and need to also address challenges which teachers and parents and kids feel by themselves, so that the solutions will be manageable by them. So also when it comes to operation maintenance, they need to be able to maintain that with the resources that they have. So also all the solutions should be available within the financial and manpower resources schools and ministries of education or local communities have to do this. So that therefore I liked also these examples, because they really included examples which are also scalable. Because what's the point if you have something in 10 schools, but you're never able to scale that up? So therefore, I think the examples showed focused also on scalability. Specifically, the second one, she really made all the steps, saying, look, we have models here, we look that this will be shared with others to learn from. Specifically, we should not do it in a few schools, this should be scalable. And I think that's where also the responsibility comes in for ministries of education to take this on board. We have never to forget the school is the place, and the government or the ministries of education are the duty bearers for health and well-being of their children. So as long as they're under their custody, as long as children are in school, ministries of education are responsible. So we also have to put the responsibility back to them. They cannot push all away, say, no, we're only responsible for education and for the textbooks and for literacy and these things. No, they're also responsible for making schools or offering education in a conducive environment and an environment which is safe. But it has also to be in a way that it can be addressed and that it can be maintained with local resources. And I think that's also, when you look at water consumption, hygiene, which is so important, of course we need facilities which are water saving. Yeah? So we need also sanitation, we need toilets, which, if you look, everybody wants flush toilets. Of course, it's also what we heard here. They want nice flush toilets, but of course this is a big challenge in times when we face water scarcity, and we need to look what is really possible and offer good solutions, because even low technology solutions do not need to be ugly solutions. They can be nice and beautiful solutions, and they work, and most important that they don't look only nice, also that they function. Yeah?
This is perfect. Thank you, Bella, and really sending it down to, again, simple, scalable solutions and system strengthening. I always say simplicity scales. So with that, thank you very much. I think we have seen schools have challenges, but they're also places for solutions. And hopefully you've got a lot out of this session, and thank you all for participating. And to all the speakers and presenters, I don't even know how to begin, all of you from Paraguay and Amazonia and Mexico and Spain, and thank you very much. And of course from Sweden, Stockholm, thank you very, very much. And have a good day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
And thank you, Belinda. You moderated greatly.
Thank you.
Thank you.